Hey friends, welcome back to my shop. I thought I would share with you guys my bag of tools that I carry with me to job sites, and I take it with me when I do handyman type work, and it's a very useful tool to have when you're doing work on your own house. I've been doing work like that for 20 years or so, and my goal was to create a small bag, the lightest that it could be with the highest level of functionality. For years and years I actually carried this bag around, and you can see it's getting a little long in the tooth. My recommendations to anybody buying a bag, I had to go onto the internet to buy this new one, and the thing I was looking for was lots of pockets, because when you're carrying lots of things in a small tight space, the one disadvantage of a bag like this is to get at anything in the bottom, you basically have to empty it. So any levels of organization that you can bring, and I think having pockets is the way to do it. My view of the ultimate tool bag is you want it to be small in size and light in weight and maximum in functionality. This bag weighs about 20 pounds, which for its size is pretty heavy, and I find as I get older it's a little bit harder to lift this bag in and out of my truck, but I like it the way it is, and like I say, I hope you guys get something out of this. Here's the first set of tools. I'm not going to go over a lot of details because I think they're self-explanatory. You find yourself using a hammer all the time. I actually created this hammer from a normal hammer, and I took the handle off of a drilling hammer and I put it on this. I originally purchased one of these little baby hammers, but you quickly figure out that the handle's not long enough to give you enough leverage to do anything, nor can you get enough force to drive anything, so these hammers are basically useless. But this hammer is actually quite useful. It looks a little funny, but it does everything I need to do almost. Of course, I do carry real hammers in my truck. The drill, again, small size is the key. Carry an extra battery or two. I carry 3 tape measures. This one stays hidden away, and these are the usual tape measures I use. This is the older version of this one. I find 16 feet. Good length for me. Does pretty much everything I need. I can use that when I'm doing real work and when you're doing more handyman type stuff. For knives, my go-to knife is actually this guy here. The fact that you can extend the blade like this and make it into a saber gives it a lot of advantages over a typical utility knife. This holds a couple blades in the body, and I carry a few extra blades in this sleeve. And I also carry a typical utility knife, and I happen to have this knife in here, although I don't use it very much, but it is in there as an emergency. And then I carry 2 screwdrivers, bright handles. These are 6-way screwdrivers. So this head is a little bit smaller than this one. So you've got a nut driver of that size and one that's a little smaller. So this screwdriver gives you 2 Phillips, 2 slot heads, and 2 nut drivers. And I carry 2, just in case you lose track of one. A lot of guys will razz me because of the small Toys R Us style tools that I use instead of the big manly tools that so many guys out there use. But again, my goal is, I want the functionality, I don't want the weight, I don't want the bulk. This is probably the secondary set of tools. For pliers, I find that these channel locks, good to have along with a common set of pliers. For vice grips, I've got this needle nose one that's bailed me out of a number of situations. And a common crescent wrench, nice to have. This is a nail puller. I use that a lot with the work I tend to do. And then every now and then you need something that these pliers can't quite do, and a decent set of needle nose, handy to carry. I carry a common small putty knife and a small flat bar and a small level. These tools I carry because I use them enough. Actually, I use this square a lot. Probably should have gone in the last set. I also carry a small Suzuki style saw. Probably need to make a new sleeve for this, but every now and then you've got a cutting job where a knife won't do it, and taking the time to bring out a real saw is just a little bit overkill. I also carry an old pair of wire strippers. It's not just for stripping wires, but sometimes the shape of this tool is useful. And I carry a set of pruners for similar reasons. Every now and then you just got to cut something that these things don't. The other tools don't carry, and of course I carry a pair of old scissors. A container of wire nuts and plastic anchors, just an assortment. I carry this container, which is just an assortment of screws, nails, nuts, washers, bolts. And I won't dump it out, but every time I work on a job or I find an extra screw or two, I just tuck it in here. So many times you're in a situation where you just need a screw or a nail, and it doesn't have to be any perfect size, shape, or anything. You just need something. You have to find a new container for it. A set of drills, of course, and this is a countersink bit that I carry in there. And I carry this kit. I need to find a better one, but this just carries an assortment of all sorts of oddball bits. So they're not only just normal screwdriver bits, but there's hex drives here. There's specialty bits for specialty fasteners. I wish I had a better carrier for this. This doesn't stay together very well, but it's what I have and what I use. I used to have a kit that carried a small assortment and some drills, and I liked that one a lot, but over the years I dropped it and it broke so many times that I had to stop using it. So now I've got these two kits instead. Got this set at Harbor Freight of hex and star drive. They're not the most convenient to use, but they are convenient to carry, so I do. I carry plenty of number 2 bits because sometimes you go through these like water. I carry 2 glues. I used to buy a couple of these a year because anytime they freeze they go bad on you. I've started to lean more toward the super glue lately, and to go with the glue I carry a container of just toothpicks, and I find that a little glue and a toothpick and a stripped out screw thread and a piece of wood, and that's all you need. Actually, you don't even need the glue. So the toothpicks also come in handy for mixing things like epoxy and whatnot, and I obviously need a new container for that. Carry a couple flashlights, although I find the flashlight on my phone tends to be doing the job more often, so I'm probably going to get down to carrying just one of these. There's an assortment of pens, pencils. Definitely carry Sharpies. You need pencils, and having a pen, not a bad idea just for marking. I carry 2 can openers. Sometimes when you're opening a can, it's useful to use 2 of them at the same time. It lessens the chance you might ruin the can, and a lot of times you just lose track of one. I carry this little tiny specialty screwdriver. It carries a bunch of other bits in the handle, so if you need a really tiny Phillips or a flathead, this is a useful tool to have. I don't use it a lot. Little cheapo tester, just to test if a circuit's alive, and I also carry a regular tester. I carry this tool for disposers. Basically, that's pretty much all it's good for, but it's easy enough to just carry it. I have 3 drill drivers, a long one, a couple short ones. A line level tucks in one of the pockets. I have an assortment of nail sets. Same thing, when you need them, you need them. I also carry a tiny cold chisel, because sometimes you need a cold chisel and you don't need a big one. You need to get something out of the way that's harder than most of the other things in your tool bag. I also carry this. This is a nail driver. I'm not sure what it's called. And I'll illustrate with this drill bit, pretend it's a nail, but it goes in there, and then with the plunger it pushes it out. And what this is useful for is, you'd be surprised how many times you can barely hold a nail and get a hammer onto it. But this tool will just give you a little bit more ability to get the nail where you want it and hammer it down here. I carry a magnet just for all the obvious reasons. Sometimes you drop something magnetic in a really tough spot to get. This is exactly a convenient thing to have. Single edge razor tucks in one of the pockets. And finally, I'm going to round it out with a couple pieces of sandpaper that I tuck usually in one of the side pockets, and a couple of tiny files. You've got something where you basically need a file. A lot of times sandpaper will do, not always, and vice versa. I also carry an assortment of screws and washers. Whenever you go to the home center and you buy a small bag, I usually just tuck it in the corner of my tool bag. Just happen to see what I have before I have to go down to my truck or make a trip to the hardware store. You may have noticed I have a colorful assortment of tools, and that is not an accident. When you have a crowded tool bag, it really helps to color code things. If you're looking for your common pair of pliers, you know they have a red handle. If you're working with somebody, you can tell them something like, get me the nail pullers, they look like pliers and they have a blue handle. And if you have 2 screwdrivers of different colors and one of them is missing, let's say it was the green one, you may remember you use the orange one over here, the green one over there, the green one's missing, you now have a place to start looking. So I would dissuade anybody from going to the store and getting a color coordinated set of tools. Assemble your tools, and don't be afraid to have them all different colors. You're going to find it's a lot more convenient. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you coming by my shop here and spending a few minutes with me. I hope this video gave you some ideas, some insights, maybe something that will help you out going forward. Feel free to leave a comment. I like to read them. Always nice to get the conversation going. And see you on the next one. Thanks.